HarperCollins presents Two Sisters by Josephine Cox, read by Carole Boyd. For my Ken, as always. Part 1. Gina, May 1956 to August 1956. Chapter 1. Ellen Arnold lay back on the grass, one arm shielding her eyes from the intense brightness of the spring sky. She heard the calling of ewes to their lambs in the next field, and then eventually the rustle of her sister's skirt as Georgina sat down beside her. "You were a while closing that gate," Ellen said, not looking round. There was a long pause. "Gina, I got the rope all twisted." They were silent and still for a few minutes. "It's lovely here, so peaceful," murmured Ellen. "If you like peaceful. Sometimes I reckon the countryside can be a bit quiet." "I don't mind quiet. It doesn't have to be, I don't know, small. Mr. Beveridge can have quiet whenever he wants to, as it's his farm. Mr. Stellion at the Hall goes all over the place on business, but he's always got that lovely garden to return to." Gina thought of Grindle Hall, the biggest house she'd ever seen, but it was still in the village of Little Grindle, still stuck out here on the Lancashire fells when nothing ever happened. "Good of Mr. Beveridge to give me the afternoon off," Ellen said. "Yes, wasn't it?" said Gina heavily. "Pity he was too mean to give me a little holiday as well." "But you took it anyway," Ellen smiled. Her sister had the cheek of the devil sometimes. "Course I did. I had something I wanted to see to earlier. What's he going to do about it anyway?" "Well, he might give you the sack." Gina considered this. "He might, but I bet he won't. If Mr. and Mrs. B were going to sack me, they'd have done so long since." "Probably. Still, such a lovely afternoon. I wish every day could be like today is right now," Ellen said. "No hens to see to, no water troughs to unblock, no smelly straw to clear out, no sheep to check on." "Oh, I like the sheep," Ellen smiled, then laughed as a loud baa sounded from over the dry stone wall. "The lambs are so bonny when they're tiny." "You are daft, Nell, daft as they are," Gina said mildly, turning her face to follow an oddly shaped passing cloud. It looked like a dancing figure with long, spiky limbs, strangely menacing in such a gloriously blue sky. Where had it sprung from? The sky had been cloudless when they'd reached the field gate. "I'll ask you whether you like the sheep next winter, when the snow's coming in and Dad wants you to help get them down from the fell." "Maybe. Might not be helping on the farm then." Now was the time to tell Gina her news. If it all worked out, Gina would have to know anyway, and Ellen didn't want to look as if she'd kept it from her sister. She'd put off telling her long enough. "Uncle Tom wants a new assistant. Young Lionel's left to work somewhere the other side of Whalley with old Lionel, and Uncle Tom's asking Mr. Stellion today if I could try out for it, see if it suits me." "You lucky beggar! I think Uncle Tom could have mentioned it to me. That's not fair. I could work at Grindle Hall. Why didn't he ask me?" "Maybe because I'm older," Ellen said diplomatically. She'd guessed this might be Gina's reaction. "And I'd rather work with Uncle Tom than Dad any day." "Aye, Uncle Tom's very agreeable. And I reckon I might prefer a garden to the farm. It'd be nice to grow flowers and learn how to cut bushes into those fancy shapes that they have at the Hall." The sisters were silent for long minutes, Ellen thinking about the garden at Grindle Hall, Gina sulking and brooding on this missed opportunity. A bee droned in the clover flowers dotting the grass around them. Ellen had her eyes closed still. Gina watched as the cloud figure grew grotesque features before its head detached from its crooked body and formed into a round and benign baby cloud. "Oh, but it'd be grand never to have to work again at all," Gina said after a while. "That's what I'd really like, to have out I wanted and never have to graft for it." Ellen turned to her sister to see if she was serious.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?